Terry Lamb now takes the Bulldogs out. One of these teams is 80 minutes from the grand final. Which one will it be? Scott Wilson with stitches, many of them in a leg injury sustained at work during the week. Terry Lamb, if he can grab control of this game, it'll be wham bam, thank you Lamb for sure. And there's the team. Wilson, Doolan, Connolly, McCracken, Williams, Lamb, Pollamouta, Brokenshire, Sidaris, Bella, Smith, Pay, Dimmock, and Chris Anderson, the coach of the year at the helm of the Bulldogs. Jared McCracken, one of the players that I mentioned, wasn't there at the cricket ground. And now the Dragons. Michael Potter, Dally M Captain of the Year, and look at the Red and White Army. They're here today. They have always been one of the favourite clubs in rugby league. Their fans haven't let them down today. Brad Mackay is there. There was a big question mark when he left here last weekend. The danger of Goulet. Potter, Walford, Coyne, Bradley, Heron, Smith, Goldthorpe, Priddle, Collins, Stevens at the front, Tallis, Goulet in the second row. Mackay locks them. Mark Coyne, the speed man in number 3. Brian Smith is the coach. Weather overcast. It's quite cold. Minor grades. President's Cup saw east wind. Greg McCallum's in charge, and reserve grade went to Norths over Newcastle. But the Novocastrians lost a couple of their gun players early in the game. Down in front of me, a couple of the famous Dragons from years gone by sitting in front of us. Their club running from left to right. Greg McCallum looks for the captains. And time on now. One of these teams goes to the grand final. Pollamouta, 9 metres away from his line. And now Bella. Canterbury will be looking to get some go forward off the foundation of Bella. Brokenshire, 22 out from his own line, third play of the day. Bella comes in to take his second play. Now, this breeze looking as though it might be aiding Canterbury a fraction. We'll probably find out from this kick. Lamb spirals it down into the direction of the waiting arms of Ricky Walford. Walford, legs cut from under him by Gary Connolly just outside the 30-metre line. Michael Potter is put away, but it's a penalty. It's against Canterbury getting inside the 10. McCallum lets them know who's in charge early.
The kicking game is going to be extremely important, as it always is out there this afternoon. A couple of similarities in the attacking styles of these two teams. Both teams very adept at using the blind side of the ruck. I think that's where we'll see St George really try and open up Canterbury. They go wide on this occasion.
Mackay put away over the top by Sidaris. A few metres into Canterbury's area, Jason Stevens goes ahead. Brokenshire goes under, and over the top comes McCracken. Sidaris having a little serve of that as well. Oh, shocking pass. Didn't touch the hands of Goldthorpe. It's with Bradley. But that was a play that went horribly wrong for the Dragons. They're right on the halfway line. Mackay tries to step, but the marker's there to bring him down. It's Terry Lamb. So Saints having a little bit of trouble just clicking into gear early, and the fumbling continues. Played by young Tallis. Collins had a lot of luck kicking from dummy half down the narrow side last weekend. This time Wilson is able to bring it back.
And that's a very good place for the kick to go down into the corners of the field. It gives you an opportunity. Well, they're not going to get it this time. What I was going to say is you can really cram the opposition up. Some back chatting there. Not good discipline from St George. They've given away a penalty and an extra 10 metres.
Yeah, I think it was Tony Priddle who mouthed up at the referee McCallum.
Gary Connolly taking the penalty kick for line. right on the halfway mark for Sedaris to ask Brokenshire to go ahead. He's met and put away by Goulet in combination with Stevens. Now for Bella, his third hit up of the day. 35 out and they put him away, 3 of them in combination.
Also Brackensh's third hit up. It's been the B&B show so far as now Dean Pay makes good meters.
At the cricket ground, St George had a mammoth amount of possession. Their forwards took control and the Canterbury halves lost control. Connolly slammed into the deck by Mark Coyne. Caught him in mid-air and drove him away from Jason Williams. It looked as though it might have been forward to Pollamouta. Dimmick on the inside. That's the end of 5. Sedaris is there. Lamb now goes to the air. It's a good bomb. Up they go. Michael Potter's come down with it. Oh, that's a great take. Michael Potter. Tremendous take.
Oh, that's a fantastic effort there. He had no right to get to that ball, Michael Potter. It was a good chase from Canterbury. You see Potter never takes his eye off it. Comes down with it. Wasn't held and even got up and took a couple more metres.
Played by young Tallis. Mackay. Just outside their own 20-metre line. They work it to the left and there's Goulet. Gets it beyond the 30-metre point. That's 5 for St George. Goldthorpe calls for it. Punches it down, bouncing on the 40-metre line. Doolan is there. Balloons still out on the ground from the opening festivities. Scott Wilson, one of their really big strike players, he plays the ball on the halfway line. Doolan stays there to support. Tallis goes over the top and Mackay comes in to assist. Bella. Mackay hangs on. Connolly's there. Support play for Gary Connolly. 38 metres away from the St George line as they go to Pollamouta. Dimmick around the back of Brokenshire. They pick up Darren Smith. McCracken puts it down. Bradley goes away. Tiptoes over the 50-metre point and takes it 38 metres out from Canterbury's line. St George. Canterbury with 5 players still trying to get back in the line. Oh, Priddle picked up and driven into the ground by Dean Pay. That slowed them down a fraction. Now Smith, Goldthorpe, Mackay. Connolly and Bella combined to put him down. Now Canterbury have got themselves numbered off. Potter, stepping, swerving. 25 metres out from the line. Collins goes quickly left through Tony Smith. Priddle looks on the inside, throws the dummy, takes the tackle on the 20-metre line. This is the last. Goldthorpe will probably go to the air. Here he is now with the ball, puts it high. It's a good bomb, plenty of time for the chase. Up they go. Oh, Scott Wilson. Anything you can do, Michael Potter, I can do it as well.
He went very well there, Scotty Wilson. Only a little bloke, but he drove high, drove the legs, and up he went. Sensational take. Didn't have much support back there either, only had Jason Williams with him.
Let's go to the sideline and take an early comment from Steve Roach with Canterbury on their own 20-metre line.
Now, this is semi-final football. I don't know if you can hear the crowd up there. It's big, it's huge. I mean, they're taking each other on as quick as they can. They're almost willing each other to take each other on in the forward.
40-metre line for Martin Bella. He's made a handful of hit-ups already. Terry Lamb gets the kick in. Goldthorpe tried the charge down, and Michael Potter lets it bounce off his body. That's not a knock-on. McCallum indicates to the crowd that's the rule. 33 metres away from his own line. Walford is the dummy half. Jason Williams makes the tackle with Mark Brokenshire.
Both teams will look very dangerous, Ray, on the fringe of the ruck, as we see Goulet with some solid defence again, running some second man plays, sending through a decoy, just trying to catch the opposition out, maybe overreading the play and giving it to the second man. There's one of the plays again. This time it's Tallis. It was well read by Connolly front on. He still gets over the halfway line.
Mark Coyne into dummy half. Goldthorpe, face ball across there for Stevens, and now it's Tony Smith. Just mixing their plays up. The kicker's going to the air early, and now a little dummy by Noel Goldthorpe before he keeps it low and plugs it down into Jason Williams' corner. And a ring of St George defence. I had the question in my mind, though, were they back 10 metres? They were certainly in front of the kicker. Gary Connolly, he's out on the 30-metre line. Sedaris. Broken shoulder. Remarkable recovery from a broken jaw. He was off and back, I think, in the space of something like 5 weeks, which has given fresh hope to Steve Renouf up in Brisbane. Bella plays it 40 metres out. Dimmick shows the ball on the inside for Polamatta. Still really waiting for a clean break. There's been a couple of half breaks. Terry Lamb put away by Noel Goldthorpe, but the ball bounces over the sideline right on the 20-metre point. Saints enter the ground. No score after 8 minutes in the semi between Canterbury and St George. This was the kick by Terry Lamb, and his opposite, well, not his opposite number, but his opposite kicker, Noel Goldthorpe, right on top of him.
McCallum having a little chat here to Dean Pay. An incident that happened in the back place, saying there a swinging arm in the tackle, so he wouldn't watch that, Pay, but a bit concerned about McCallum's 10 metres. He's getting them back to 10, but he's allowing the players to move up before the ball is played, so I have to keep an eye on that.
Tell you what, you're really struggling out there looking into the crowd to see a vacant seat. They have really stacked in to see this one. Two of the more popular clubs. They've both attracted around 380,000 spectators this year. That's good defence. Brad Mackay with it. It came off his feet. Then he gets away from McCracken. Terry Lamb is there to make a jolting tackle on him. 12 metres out from the St George line. They know they've got a football match on their hands today. Tallis.
Well, that'll be a penalty to St George. The ball was definitely raked out there by the Canterbury player. Gary Connolly is the man responsible, a shake of the head, but I think you'll find on this replay, Tallis taking it up, there's the hand in, and no doubt Gary Connolly was the reason the ball came out.
Finding the line 30 metres out now from his own line. Goldthorpe cuts out 3 players around the back, and Brad Mackay is tackled in the centre of the Sydney Football Stadium, about 30 metres out from his own line. Here's young Jason Stevens. Tony Smith got an ordinary play. The ball, did it come off Canterbury or in fact off the man that played it? McCallum saw it and said play on. He didn't nullify the tackle count, so obviously it must have come off the man that played the ball.
Yeah, that was a good hit by Connolly on Goulet. Then he's the very dangerous player out wide as Goulet, and Connolly wrapped him up Bulldogs. Preddle goes up the middle.
Stevens, just 5 metres short now of the halfway mark. Here's the last coming up for St George. Goldthorpe off the outside edge, out on the full. Bit of pressure there for Noel Goldthorpe.
Super pressure put on him by Darren Smith. Very thankless task that. No one gives you a rap for it, but Darren Smith did very well to force him into the mistake.
Sedaris is able to stay alive and turn it back for Scott Wilson. They're just outside the 20-metre point. The Bulldogs away for Polamatta and now for Dean Pay. Goulet makes the tackle. Sedaris comes back to the centre. Strides through. In fact, that was a bit brittle, that defence from St George. Tallis makes the tackle. A boot comes flying out. They're 15 out. Terry Lamb goes into dummy half to take control. Bella gets it back for Connolly. Connolly's only a couple of metres from the line. Dean Pay away for Terry Lamb. Lamb tries to beat them himself. He's tackled 3 metres out. This is the last. Sedaris goes for it. They'll hold the ball against him. That's a turnover.
And it is great defence from St George. Noel Goldthorpe coming up with a try-saver. 2 tackles ago. Jim Sedaris took the odds to it last tackle. Tried to get over from dummy half. Couldn't do so as Ricky Walford 8 metres out from his own line. That will do their confidence a world of good. They're under a lot of pressure there, the Dragons.
Mark Coyne in possession. Gene Miles on the sideline.
Yes, Ray, it's quite noticeable that Brogan-Shear and Bella are doing a mountain of work, but in the defensive line, they're getting caught out wide when St George is shifting the ball from one side of the field to the other. So look for a Brad Mackay or a Mark Coyne to attack in that direction.
Goulet now. 25 out from his own line. No score. We've had nearly 14 minutes of the match go. Bradley on the last. They've only been able to improve it out to the 30-metre line. Favourable bounce for Scott Wilson, runs straight back into Wayne Collins.
It's interesting, June Miles pointing out that the forwards there were sought out by the opposition attack. They're the kind of things you do look for if you can get the little speed men in against those big men. The most important players out there in defence are the lock and the 5'8". They're the ones who really have to cover the territory to make sure they're not caught out wide. Terry Lamb throws the dummy. Great tackle by Tallis.
Connolly now. Couldn't hear a call from behind. He went out from dummy half. Made a run of 15 metres. This is the last for the Bulldogs. Terry Lamb got around Noel Goldthorpe. Oh, crunching tackle. Tremendous tackle by Michael Potter. It had to be made.
The old Lamb magic's still there. The dummy, the step he went through another dummy, but Nick Potter, he knew not to take it. That's a great try-saving tackle by Potter. Former Canterbury teammates.
And also give a rap to the other St George cover defence there. They got in between the support players that Terry Lamb had. He wasn't able to throw the pass, so he was forced to throw the dummy. That made it easier for Potter.
Walford now. Goldthorpe. Goulet striding outside the 30-metre point. Canterbury have had very much the better of it. Stevens. Bradley. Goulet. Goldthorpe. 6 sets of hands and they've gone nowhere. Coy. Wrestled down by Williams just inside the 40-metre line. Tony Smith. Wilson. No score. Hardly a clean break. Here's one. Polomouta. Doolan's on his inside. Goldthorpe wraps him up. Doolan away to the right. Sadara still with only one boot on. 30 metres out from the line. They're wide and they're deep. Canterbury now. Polomouta. Dimmock. Dean Pay. Ball comes jolting to the ground for St George. Michael Potter in the right spot at the right time. Priddle. Used the blind side, but Canterbury's got 3 on 2 out there. Bradley. Matches between these two sides. Notoriously close. Look at this driving defence from Canterbury on Brad Mackay. And the captain leading the way. Michael Potter. Now the last. Smith. It's a better looking kick, landing just outside the goal line. Scotty Wilson comes out from behind the uprights. Ian Heron gets involved for the first time today. Williams. Pulled down by Mackay.
Now this is where you allow your opposition quick play the balls. Struggling to get back as Scott Wilson picked up that kick. You'll see here St George, they don't want to hold him down. They want to get on with it. They've wasted 3 or 4 rucks here, Canterbury, and they're still inside their 20-metre area.
Well, Sedaris has still not replaced that shoe. I'm a bit surprised that McCallum hasn't ordered him to put the boot back on.
Shot there from Gordon Tallis hurt Martin Dollar. Great drive into the midriff.
Potter comes back. Back to the halfway mark, in fact. Walford. 74 tackles for Canterbury, 72 for the Saints. Stevens. Goldthorpe. Cuts Goulet out. Bradley's with the ball. Goldthorpe once more. Just a little handoff for Collins, the hooker. Now the last. Tony Smith puts it high. Again, a good kick and a test for Scott Wilson. He never got near it. Walford gives it away. Priddle goes over. Priddle! Priddle scores!
And the last pass is the one we must look at. And McCallum was in good position. More of a handoff by Walford to Priddle. It's a beautiful big kick here by Tony Smith. They're all onside. Scotty Wilson. Well, it was Mark Coyne going for the ball, this last pass. Well, that looks forward.
Yeah, it's one of those decisions, isn't it? And the funny thing about when this try is scored, Brad Mackay is fairly upset with Tony Priddle that he does not improve the position of where the try is scored. There was not a Canterbury player within Cooey, and he puts the ball straight down, Tony Priddle. He could have taken that round almost under the posts. Let's have a look at this last pass. I thought there was a fair contest there. Yeah, I've got to run with it forward. Bad angle. Referee in the better position.
What do you think, Rabbi?
I think it's very much touch and go, Paul. I'm not certain of it, so it's no use just having an opinion that is going to arouse further controversy. I'm not sure. He was in line with it, McCallum. Certainly looked a bit suspect. 37 goals for Ian Heron. 18 metres out. He had it right on line last weekend. If he's on today, he is a decided advantage, but that's across the face. No goal. Saints leading Canterbury a quarter of the way through the game, 4 points to 0. Tony Priddle, the try scorer.
And again, Ray, I stress the fact that Tony Priddle really could have improved the angle. The kick was unsuccessful for Ian Heron. It's difficult kicking conditions out there. The wind swirls around this football stadium.
Welcome back to the Sydney Football Stadium. The restart for Canterbury, something they didn't particularly want to do. Saints, they get the first points, leading 4-0. Sideline comments, Steve Roach.
Yeah, just being down here on the sideline, you can see the players a lot better. I've been watching Gary Connolly. He didn't go up for that bomb when St George scored the try, and he's still hobbling in back play now.
Brad Mackay.
6 again.
Wayne Collins. Well, this has got to be a penalty. He gave it to Canterbury.
Well, it's a big decision, this. I thought there was interference in the play the ball, and he wasn't allowed to play the ball properly. Here it is here. It's Wayne Collins getting up.
Well, what's the ruling, Paul? There is he not touching it with his foot?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, it didn't look too bad to me to play the ball.
I think you'll find that once he placed the ball on the ground, he then put a hand on the ball a second time after he released it, and McCallum's ruling, and I was watching his indication, is that there's been hands in the play the ball. You see it? Once you've placed the ball and you've risen, that's the end of the hands. You can't handle the ball in the play the ball contest. Just when Wayne Collins and everybody else was expecting the penalty to go to Saints, it went the other way.
They had some momentum up too. The referee just signalled 6 again. They were down to the 40-metre area with a full complement of tackles to come. Not an easy kick, this one, for Lammers.
Well, it's not an easy kick, and Terry Lamb, as far as I know, has been a lay the ball down flat kicker. He's got this look around the corner style.
38 metres out. Directly in front.
You ever seen Terry kick like this before, Pete?
No, it's a good point. I've seen him kick for many years now, and it's always been with the lace down.
What's this breeze going to do down there, Gene?
Well, just as you speak, Ray, it drops off, but I think it could be behind him.
Okay. With a run with that. He keeps it low, so the breeze effect is not great. It's just offline. Michael Potter brings it back. 10 metres away from his own line. Saints leading Canterbury 23 minutes gone, 4 points to nil.
It still did not look like the competent kick that we expect from Terry Lamb. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to the normal mode of kicking that we've seen for many years now.
Well, maybe he felt it was a fair way out. Maybe he felt he'd get more distance that way.
Of course, the reason that Terry is doing the kicking is Gavin Hill. Not inside. Here's a chance. Down the far touchline goes Bradley. Bradley, taken by Scott Wilson, gets away from him. McCracken has to come in. 9 metres from the line. A chance for St George. Looking for their second try. Collins holds the ball back. Floats the pass out. One-handed take by Mackay. Now from Coyne. Wolford. Corner post is gone.
Great tackle, Gary Connolly. It was Polomata who missed Bradley in the first place, way back in their own half. But that's a sensational tackle by Connolly. Look at him coming over in cover.
He's in colour too, Paul.
Yeah.
This was the break. Way back on their own 40-metre point for St George's Graham Bradley.
Well, I thought he was going to throw it inside the hair, and I think if he'd have thrown it, it's a try. With the wrong option taken, there was a great bust. He got on the outside of Jaron McCracken fairly easily. It was always going to be a good contest out there, the centres. Fortunately for McCracken, it was Connolly, his centre partner, who came up with the crucial tackle next play.
Well, Saints have had a good last 5 minutes, but Pete, I felt that Canterbury were getting on top in the first 20.
Well, look, you put a kick up and it's a lottery, and you know the first points have just been shown to be so important in this semi-final series. It really has changed the course of every game so far. Interesting to see what happens in the next 10 as Williams finds Connolly on the outside. Can't beat the defence of Coyne and Walford.
Canterbury now on their last, and the mistake comes from Terry Lamb. An ordinary pass from his dummy half. Turnover for St George. They come up with the ball in good field position. They're 38 metres out on the first tackle. Collins from dummy half goes right for Goldthorpe. Lamb puts him away. 30 metres out from the line now. Tallis. Mackay at first receiver. Brad Mackay. Collins. Smith. Goulet out wide. Had some pace up. Turns it back for Michael Potter. Goulet again. His second handle on this set of 6. Looks to get the pass away. He lost it. Got it back in. Touch judge said to McCallum, little knock on there, and McCallum acknowledges.
Yeah, it was good work there by Martin Weeks, the touch judge, as Goulet loses the ball and retrieves it. And McCallum looked to his referee. He was looked to his touch judge. He was unsighted. And that man there, the bald head, he gave the nod.
Some people make it sound like it's affliction.
I was going to say, nothing wrong with those.
One of our more handsome touch judges, really, Martin Weeks.
No chance of Martin getting the hair in the eyes down there this afternoon. That could be a key play.
Jared McCracken reaches the 30-metre line. Mark Brokenshire in a bit of trouble as he leaves the field. Or is he in trouble? He might be just going for what will be a frequent use of the bench by Chris Anderson.
Gavin Hill, the man who's gone on.
Demick puts it down. Did Goulet rake it out? Yes, he did. It's a penalty to Canterbury.
Well, one of these decisions where you almost think it was momentum that the ball has come out from. Let's have a look. The inside pass to Demick there. No, he's dropped it cold.
He's
Bad
put it
decision.
down cold, Pete.
Yeah.
Greg McCallum, if he's made a mistake, I tend to think that's his first, really. Still a question mark on the try. I appreciate that. But he's dead set. Put that ball down cold. Canterbury, nevertheless, they go onto the attack. Bella, who started at a whirlwind pace, and then Peter called him taking a solid tackle from Tallis. Now they lose it again. Well, now they're starting to do what they did at the cricket ground. They got away to a great start, Canterbury. Then they started turning the ball over. And at the end of the night, the weight of possession beat them. Tallis now. Mackay. Doesn't mind running from dummy half, and talking about that skill. Don't forget, St George got Phil Blake on the sideline, on the bench today. And he will come into his own, as he did against Canterbury last time. As they start to tire, Brian Smith will inject him into the play and look for his dummy half running. Swamping tackle by Dean Pay on Noel Goldthorpe. 5 tackles gone. Tony Smith. Very precise kicker of the ball. Very accurate, Tony Smith. That's a good bounce for St George. Wilson. Ridden into the ground by Heron.
Well, Heron, if he's done nothing else today, at least he's been a good chaser. He's been sprinting down there. And that must be more or less a set move by the Saints people, is for Smith to kick the ball, Heron to stay onside and put the big sprint in.
That bounce was an absolute horror for Scotty Wilson. But thinking of that play, St George scored a try off it at the cricket ground. I was talking about that match, and Scott Wilson almost went to sleep on a kick like that. Great tackle by Brad Mackay. Terry Lamb. Weights it down over the head of Michael Potter and finds the line. Finds the touchline. Not the corner post. Come out. 10-metre scrum, 4 points to 0. Saints leading 28th minute. Jeff Hardy going on, and so too Phil Blake in 40 Blake, 41 Hardy. And off for St George on the far side of the ground under instructions from that man, Coach Brian Smith, are his brother Tony and Jason Stevens. Scrum goes down 10 metres away from the St George line. Their feed, their loose head, they win it. Bradley, who officiates from 5/8 for all scrummaging, he plays it now. Hardy throws himself into the game immediately. And broken away from that second row position, I would imagine. Wayne Collins has played very well in the 2 semi-finals that we've seen him in. He's been one of their best players so far today. Michael Potter is out to the 30-metre line. And I know he's unable to get up, is he? Veteran of the game, Michael Potter, but he's as tough as teak. Here's Blake. I told you to watch for his dummy half scurries. You'll see plenty of it. Let's have a look at the shot. Got him around the jaw area. Now, Canterbury come up with the ball after the charge down. Dean Pay was in quickly. Martin Bella. He's tackled 35 metres out. Canterbury with a good line to the right. Through Polamalu. He cuts out one around the back for Lamb to give to Darren Smith out wide. And now Jared McCracken, but Bradley's got him with Heron. They look for the sideline. They better not go too much further with him. McCallum had called held. Back and away from Connolly. Gee, that pass looked a little bit dubious. Put away by Darren Smith for Connolly to pick up, and Lamb floats it out for Scott Wilson. Look out for him. He's dangerous. He lets the ball go out the back. Dimmick gets the pass away. Onto the ball comes Gavin Hill. He stands and unloads the ball back and away now for Dean Pay, and he's put down. 25 out from the St George line.
6 again here, Ray. The referee has signalled 6 again, so heap of pressure under 10 minutes to go in this first half. Now for St George.
Bella to play it right in the centre of the ground, give or take a few metres. Sedaris away. Gavin Hill goes to ground, but referee McCallum spots a knock on.
I think he got him for a forward pass first up. He's missed a couple from dummy half by Canterbury. This one, though, dead set forward, and that's a bad mistake. Second tackle, putting pressure on the Saints line.
Brad Mackay in a bit of trouble at the back of the St George scrum. A trainer was trying to work on him, but Brad has to get into this scrum. He keeps it in the scrum, as a matter of fact, or Canterbury. Oh, Coyne is through! Gets it away for Wolford! Wolford on Scott Wilson! Goes over the top of him! Beats Terry Lamb! Goes back to the centre! Goldthorpe runs out of pace! Oh, tremendous football by the Dragons! Phil Blake! Graham Bradley! Out wide for Hardy! Back infield for Bradley! 10 metres from the line! Canterbury stretched now. Phil Blake to the 10-metre line for Goulet. 3 metres out. St George fans, they're deafening as they roar encouragement now. Collins for Goldthorpe. Flicks it out for Palace. Palace held up over the line. Dummy half is Mark Coyne. He goes himself. Can he get it down? Held up in goal this time.
Yeah, that's a good play. They'll get the ball back from the scrum feed here. Coyne set it up down the other end with that magic left foot step. And he's going to get the ball back here by getting over the try line, but being held up. So it will be a no Goldthorpe feed. What about Goldthorpe's flick over the top there? I thought Tallis, if he'd have thrown the pass to his winger, they scored there. Tallis took it upon himself, just failed.
Thought it was Mick Cronin for a moment. I think he was the one that first invented that. Now St George win the scrum. Brad Mackay takes it towards the centre of the ground. Terry Lamb was waiting for him. Michael Potter, the dummy half, cuts out Bradley, finds Goldthorpe. St George, they put it down. Scooped up by Walford. Oh, beautiful piece of skills there. He picked it up in one motion. Kept going in an arc-like run. Goulet is with it. He's over the 20-metre line. Back it goes for Hardy. Hardy steps around. Bella pulls him down. 15 metres out from the line. Potter in an acting half. Goldthorpe. Goldthorpe runs to them. Finds Priddle. 12 metres out. Canterbury's defence unbelievable. From Collins now. Turns it back. Goldthorpe flies the pass out the back. Goulet takes it up. Bella puts him away. Got some assistance from Dean Pay, but they're still on the 10-metre line. St George throwing everything at Canterbury. Goldthorpe away for Blake. Blake gets it away for Coyne. He flicks the pass on. Heron looks for a bit of open space. Gets the pass out the back. Coyne takes it, puts the ball down, and Canterbury miraculously get off the hook.
Oh, you must give Canterbury some credit. The defence has been great. And now they get the penalty to relieve the pressure. But Canterbury's defence, fantastic. Semi-final defence, that's what it's all about.
And I'll tell you when their defence was at its best. It was immediately after the first break from Mark Coyne after the scrum win. They had a full line back there for the next play of the ball. That meant guys like Martin Bella, Dimmick, Dean Pay had to travel 60 or 70 metres at speed. A horrible mistake there. They haven't found touch from the penalty.
And so Michael Potter comes back 48 metres away from the Canterbury line. And that is just what they didn't need. Canterbury has been on the rack. St George had the hammer and the nail to put the last nail in the coffin, but they couldn't do it. But now Canterbury gives them another opportunity. Coyne had to lean forward as he accelerated. Walford turns it inside. Mackay does very well. 40 metres out from the line. 4-0 in favour of St George. 4.5 minutes of the first half remaining. Hardy is put down. 35 out from the Canterbury line. Collins at acting half. Uses the short side. Coyne uses the kick. Wilson comes across. Walford goes in. This will be a line dropout. So, St George are looking down the barrel of 24 straight tackles. Scott Wilson rakes this ball over the touch in goal.
Well, you just wonder if they can hold out now for the next 4 minutes. That will take them to the half-time break. And you also wonder what effect this will have in the second half. A lot of desperation here. They're getting a lot of tackles up. The fatigue factor must come into play somewhere down the line, but what a great job they're doing at the moment, the Bulldogs.
Oh, that's an ordinary drop kick out, and Priddle carries it back on the first tackle, 27 metres out from the Canterbury line. So, let's count them out, because on the end of this set of 6, I think you'll find them right, something like 24 tackles Canterbury have had to endure. Away from Goldthorpe on to Blake. Hardy tried to get inside McCracken. No gaining ground that time. The second tackle is gone. This is the third. Blake fires the pass wide for Priddle. Mackay takes it to ground. Third play, 25 metres out. Potter runs the short side to the 20-metre line. And Callum indicates that's 5 gone. I thought it was 4. Turned inside by Goldthorpe. Blake goes scurrying through. Oh, miraculous stuff. And Goulet. Oh, Goulet. He puts it down. Mark Coyne. Fair dinkum, he's Houdini. That's a Houdini pass from Coyne.
Magical stuff from the Saints. Beautiful stuff by St George. A nice handy lead at half-time for them now. But really, I think Terry Lamb to blame for probably this try.
Well, we'll see that. Last tackle here, Noel Goldthorpe, dummies to kick. Let's have a look. We freeze it there. There you see it is Terry Lamb that has come in there. That opens up the gap on the inside here. It's the last tackle. They've overread it. A big hole there. Amazing work here from Mark Coyne to swivel and turn, and Scott Goulet. That is a planned move from St George. The last tackle option, running the football on the inside.
Well, Terry ran out of the line trying to snuff the play. The defence back on the inside didn't move up, and that's where the hole was. And Scott Goulet finishes off a great St George try. Canterbury, they couldn't endure the 24 tackles.
Both touch judges in for the Terry Lamb tackle on Noel Goldthorpe. He's out with a caution. He might be on report.
It was high, wasn't it?
Well, I thought it wasn't late, it was simultaneous, but it was high.
How many times do you see it? Just that little period of time before and after half-time, but the statisticians will get it right. I think I kept talking about 24 tackles in a row, and that included that scrum where St George got it back. And I think you'll find Canterbury were asked to do almost the humanly impossible.
Yeah, stats also show a lot of tries scored from kicks and on the last tackle. That's how St George have got there too in this first half.
We're pretty close to half-time. Ian Heron, he'll make this from right in front, 10 metres out. Saints 8-0 with 2 tries. Heron, he gets the 2 points. The crowd likes it, particularly the red and white crowd. Saints 10, Canterbury no score after 39. Even allowing for the scoreboard factor. There's still probably many here that think Canterbury have had the best of the first half. The scoreboard says they haven't. Welcome back. Just the dying seconds of the first half. St George with 2 tries. 1 goal, and they lead 10-0 as we come towards the break as the ball is played by Tallis. Michael Potter knows that the break is close by, and everything they do is in slow motion and simple stuff, dummy half plays, taking the tackles. Mackay takes the last one as the half-time siren sounds. So St George goes to the break. The 2 big men, Priddle and Goulet, they scored the tries. Ian Heron has kicked 1 from 2. Canterbury yet to get on the board, but that's not to say that they haven't threatened danger. In fact, for a greater part of the first half, they probably looked the more dangerous of the 2 sides. Captain Terry Lamb and Coach Chris Anderson will get together at halftime. They'll talk to the team, obviously, about what we have to do to get it right. Welcome back to the Sydney Football Stadium. This is the home of Rugby League, the Winfield Cup. It unfolds, just another chapter here today. We're watching the major semi-final. One of these sides, it looks like St George at the moment, will be going straight to the grand final, and Canterbury, therefore, will have an appointment here next Sunday with the defending premiers, the Brisbane Broncos. They are the statistics. Peter Sterling, a mountain of possession has gone St George's way.
Statistics are a little bit misleading. Most of that possession that's really bumped that percentage up was in the last 10 minutes of play, and so too the missed tackles, 18 to 10. Our statistician tells us that something like 8 tackles there were in only 2 breaks, 2 movements, so they missed tackle after tackle in one play. So really, they haven't missed that many more tackles than St George over the full duration of that 40 minutes. It all says St George there, but I'm not going to be premature and say that Canterbury are out of this, especially if they can put the first points on in this second half.
Terry Lamb takes the Bulldogs back out onto the Sydney Football Stadium. They're 40 minutes away from turning it around and going to the grand final, or in fact, we'll be back here next Sunday to play Brisbane. 10-0 St George. Chief Executive Jeff Carr, he played in the St George grand final of 1971 from memory. And now the current day, St George riding high, looking good. 10-0 their way, 2 tries. Both these clubs have got fantastic supporters. Follow them. St George in particular, we've been to Adelaide with them, we've been to Perth, and to the ANZ Stadium. Everywhere they go, they attract a healthy support group. Goldthorpe was the young man who laid the last try together. Coyne's work was fantastic. This is a young fellow that Western Suburbs said, look, we'd like to keep you, but there's no money. We've got a bloke called Jason Taylor. Martin Bella on the bench for the start of the second half. Gavin Hill starts it. Michael Potter looks for the try scorer, Scott Goulet. Gene, what happened in the Canterbury room at half-time?
Well, Ray, Chris Anderson just wants these guys to control the ball. They've had no football the later half of that first half, and he said with the first share of the ball, we'll be able to get a little bit of go forward and also work around the rucks.
St George, or was that knock forward? Callum said no, it went back. What about the Dragons' room blocker?
Obviously very happy, their coach Brian Smith. He wants to see his team concentrate for the full 80 minutes and be the first into the grand final, and that the other two battle it out to be there. He was very happy with their desperation on kick chase. That's one point that he said he was very happy on.
Scott Wilson is on the end of kick chase right now, tackled just outside the 20-metre line.
It's a very interesting personal stats in the first half there, Ray, for both sides. Craig Polomano mentioned his missed tackles. He actually made 4 but also missed 4. Terry Lamb, outstanding first half for him, 18 tackles. And Martin Bella leads the way in hit-ups with 12 on the St George side. You've got Tony Priddle, who's made 16 tackles and also 10 hit-ups, so a very busy game for him.
Incidentally, that Scott Goulet try did come on the 24th tackle. Not too many sides can resist for that long. Lamb crossing the halfway line before sending that ball, but straight into the arms of Michael Potter, and Darren Smith is the man that makes the tackle.
Just going back to that try immediately before half-time, Ray, we pointed Terry Lamb there as coming up out of the line, but really he's going to be a penalty here for St George. The problem was that his teammates did not react. He was going through to put pressure on what he thought was going to be the kicker. His teammates did not react, and that led to the 6 points for St George. So we'll play the ball infringement with all the pressure taken off.
Brad Mackay right on the 30-metre line, and 48 metres out he finds it. 4-3 penalties Canterbury. Crowd here today probably around 41,000. I think the biggest crowd ever here is just on 42,000, and this won't be far from it. Coyne, he's had a fine game so far. Blake is still on. Hardy likewise. He's with the ball now. Bella back on the bench for Canterbury Bankstown. Brokenshire is back there. Blake takes it to the 30-metre line. Jason Williams, the tackler. Saints want it wide, left fast, and it comes from Collins to Goldthorpe, and now for Bradley. He angles it back in, trying to draw the defence back to the centre of the park, which indicates they'll go to the extremity again, or maybe to the kick. Goldthorpe. Scott Wilson, a test again. Oh, he's made a meal of it. Here's a try. This is a try. Gordon Tellis. Gordon Tellis. Saints get a try.
Yeah, they look in trouble now, the Bulldogs. Another mistake by the Canterbury side. And 14-0. You'd think it'd be hard for them to come back from here. But here you go, the big high kick. Now Wilson's coming in. Once again, no Canterbury players getting behind him. I mean, we're all taught that basic rugby league. Get behind your fullback, give him some support, and tell us. Well, it's hard to see from there whether he got the ball down. In-goal touch judge right on line.
Well, this should show a little bit better. He just completely misjudged the flight there, did Wilson. And that's, yeah, good try. He's done well there, left-handed. That takes some ability to score that try. He knows it.
What about young Tallis? He's actually pushed Michael Potter back and out of the road to get a shot at him.
Well, he used his body very well with everybody there, didn't he? Jason Williams was the only Canterbury player in sight, and he's manoeuvred him out of the way as well. So a great chase there. They were all on side. There was no doubt about that. And as I say, Wilson, he flew high, but when he flew, he'd realised that the ball wasn't coming down where he first expected.
But Pete, no urgency in the Canterbury defence as far as giving him any support, was there?
No, and that's going to make it tough now. Heron, not an easy conversion, but again a big lead just after half-time. We've seen this in all the semi-finals. This one getting away from Canterbury.
Inquisitive look from Ian Heron. That's what he's got in front of him. Oh, it's right on line. St George are on line for a grand final appointment. 16 points to 0. 5 minutes gone, second half. McCallum, he could have pinched Canterbury there for players in front of the kicker. He took a long look at it and he allowed it to go. 16-0 then, Saints leading as we welcome you back. Viewers right around Australia. The major semi-final. This is the one that opens the door to the big one. Priddle, there's a knock on. Talking of big, this crowd is of huge proportions. It is grand final proportion. 41,384 to our major semi-final. What would we do on grand final day with a stadium that'd take 100,000? Canterbury's Craig Pollamounta in one side, out the other. Ball lost now on the end of it.
Well, it's touched here by a St George player, I think. The referee says no. Well, I thought it was touched by a St George player and should have been 6 again. That's what Pollamounta and Wilson thought. Let's have a look. Heron comes up with a good tackle. Pollamounta turns. The ball is touched definitely by a St George player.
There's no doubt about it, Peter. From Craig Pollamounta's hands, it was going backwards. And then it was deflected by Ian Heron. So really, Canterbury had a bad call on them there. Goldthorpe, beautiful pass. Goulet, 3 metres into opposition territory. Wayne Collins. I think he's had an outstanding couple of games the last 2 weekends.
His service out of there is first class. And again, we saw a set move there from St George where they win a scrum, they go to the open, and they come back with a cutout pass where one of the back rows actually looked like he's going to catch the football, but lets it go as Blake gets outside his man again. Dimmick cleans up.
Blake out of dummy half, Paul. He's really having a picnic. This is the last terrible pass, and Goldthorpe sets for the drop goal. Oh, from 35 out. He's got it. Well, he got a shocking pass. He had to go up like Kazali to bring it down. And still there was no pressure on him. And then he gets this kick in from 35 out.
Well, at 16-0, it's probably not that necessary, but it's been a trademark of theirs, St George. They love to kick the field goals, and Goldthorpe has become a specialist. Down the sideline, Gino.
Yeah, we could just see the Canterbury players bow their heads after they watch that ball go over the crossbar, and that just really will break their spirit.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good move, that one. There was nothing happening. It was the last tackle. They happened to kick a penalty goal. All of a sudden, it's 19 in front, and that's more than 3 converted tries. So just making it a little bit harder all the time. That the hill's getting, it's a little bit steeper.
$17-0. Blake out and away again. Coyne was thinking about catch and pass in the one motion. Goldthorpe comes up everywhere. The ball bounced forward then, but Potter able to play on and find the line, 28 metres away from Canterbury's. 17-0. 3 tries, 2 goals, 1 drop goal. Half an hour of the game to go. Can the Bulldogs pull it back? I remember seeing them play North Sydney during the Winfield Cup competition rounds, and they led 16-0 against North Sydney. They went down 17-16 from memory. Canberra, they put on a mini comeback yesterday against Brisbane. We are talking about a class team here. Gavin Hill leaves it behind, and referee McCallum again packs down a scrum. The similarities, Peter, I've got to say it, the similarities between this game and the cricket ground game in round 21 are quite incredible.
Yes, I can't disagree with that. Gavin Hill disagrees with that decision.
Now Coyne, Peter, puts his foot down, runs to the winger, draws him, and puts Walford on a saloon passage in to score another try. Oh, how easy. How easy.
Mark Coyne's been the hero of the St George semi-final charge. He's done it again here. This is simple, basic defensive lapses by Canterbury. They've made the error, the knock-on, and 2 tackles later, Saints have made them pay. Well, from the scrum, there you go. First tackle. Mark Coyne.
Williams come in on him for.
Exactly. I mean, he's just got to stay on his man. Gary Connolly always had Mark Coyne covered, and Jason Williams couldn't foot it with Ricky Walford. Been in great form. Well, that's it now. Saints marching into the grand final.
Yes, the speed of this man, Mark Coyne, again was the feature of that play, and Ricky Walford, still one of the best finishers in the game. Only now getting the plaudits that he deserves. In what's been a great career, he's probably got a year or 2 left in him, and maybe a semi-final, a grand final win in him as well. Ricky Walford magic.
Well, that's a very interesting point that you brought up now. Goulet goes for a rest, or has he got a problem with the neck? Do we all agree that the St George side in 1993 is better than the one that was beaten in 1992?
Yes.
Thank you, Paul.
No doubt about that, Ray, and I think the players will say so, Brian Smith will say so, the scoreboard says so.
Well, what about you, Fatty? One of your trademark comments is, they're gone, the doggies. You haven't said it yet.
Oh, you want one?
Wait for this. Ian Heron, that's the 20-metre line. 5 in, and they're over there somewhere. 2 from 3. And here it goes. Oh, have a look at it. Perfect kick. Ian Heron. Bella's head goes down. 23 points to 0. 52 gone. Canterbury getting plenty of practice back at the halfway mark. Tallis took our Man of the Match award last weekend. Some were critical of that award. I don't know that he's done much different today.
Well, they obviously didn't watch the game too closely. He worked the place down. I know Brian Smith gave him enormous raps after it, especially coming in under the pressure he was under. And looked great. And Brad Mackay's come up with a rare mistake there. Canterbury will come up with this one through Pollum. No, it's through Dean Pay.
Darren Smith. $23-0. Jim Sedaris. Terry Lamb. Jim Dimmick. 3 names there back-to-back that you'd expect to be igniting the Canterbury attack, and that is commonplace. But if you haven't got the football and you make mistake after mistake, then there's not much opportunity left for you. Dean Pay. 5 gone. Lamb turning it in. Dimmick. Oh, straight down to Bradley. Very tall man, Bradley. It wouldn't have been an easier... Look at the size of him alongside Terry Lamb. Never an easy assignment to get the pass over his head. Walford. Potter out and away. Some of the old, should I say, older players in the St George side now. They know they're in front 4 tries to nil, 23-0, but they will still be having that settling effect on the younger players. Come on, it's not over. Let's not go to sleep on it. That's a good tackle on Blake from Dean Pay. Penalty against the player of the ball.
He's got him for walking off the mark.
Well, he's got him for not facing goal, in fact, Paul.
Yep, dead right. Will Blake, very experienced campaigner these days, and he's facing sideways there. So if Canterbury, they just really, I mean, Saints have played well, but Canterbury have just put it on a platter, dressed it up nicely, bit of sauce, and they just give it to them.
Sidaris.
It's the first time I've heard it described that way, Ray, but I guess it does describe it. They have handled it on a platter in many ways, but it's been a quality St George performance, especially in defence. You're talking about those Canterbury players igniting something. Hard to do it when it's a relentless defence against you.
Craig Poller Mountain. Vision very much still on this game in their minds. It's not gone. Now Terry Lamb. He's about to make the point that he'll be focusing, I would think, after this game on a confrontation with Alan Langer. Dimmick's kick high, the breeze swirling around. Heron, he put it down and fell on it, so McCallum says play on. And this is a penalty to Canterbury now.
Well, now waiting possession is going Canterbury's way, but they need to, well, they probably can't win, but they need to put some points on the board, and they need to score a try very, very shortly.
Sidaris decides to try and do it himself. And at the line, bounced away from it. Chance for Canterbury. Pollamouta. Sidaris sweeps it away. Dimmick across the face for Terry Lamb. Connolly came onto it, but that's great defence out there. Tackler was Coyne. Dimmick shows it. Canterbury with a rare opportunity for points. Brokenshire. Now for the last. Pollamouta. Terry Lamb. Dean Pay ran off his hip. Lamb came around and supported. Connolly goes into a gap. Dimmick tries to go through it. Oh, that's superb defence.
Oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, this St George defence. Outside, inside, upside down. Tony Priddle on that occasion is covering over. Finished off the movement nicely and saved a certain try. Terry Lamb's trying everything he can. The inside ball to Connolly. Dimmick now, but Priddle was there.
Ricky Walford makes a half break beyond the 20-metre line. 23-0. 3/4 of the game gone. Jason Stevens. Goldthorpe. Tallis. Right on the 30-metre line. Blake. Now the last. Goldthorpe. Scott Wilson coming away from inside that danger zone. Mackay was the first man down there. Wayne Collins was the second. Jason Williams. He's worn the colours of his nation. Played for New Zealand. Pollamouta. Darren Smith. This, on paper, is the best side that Canterbury can field, so I doubt that Chris Anderson has got any team changes in mind. Martin Bella to come on in just a moment. Jim Dimmick sweeping it inside for Sidaris. St George get the ball. McCallum reckons that St George have touched it. Mark Brokenshire coming off and Bella going on. We'll go down for a comment from Steve Roach. There's timeout.
Yes, St George have been one of the lucky sides. They haven't been hit by any injury and they've got the best bench. I'm sure that they'd want to keep on playing football. Their form's been that good.
The Dean Pay comes off and Canterbury sends Jason Smith into the second row to partner his brother.
Terry Lamb is out there. He's limping around with a bit of an injury at the moment as well.
And most interest centres on Jim Dimmock. He's actually on the ground. What appears to be an ankle injury.
Well, what do you do in this instance, Paul? You know, the side's trailing by 23 with 20 minutes to go. You've got a game next week. Do you look to maybe get Dimmock and Lamb off? I know that you can't say that the game's gone, but I doubt whether they can score a point a minute against this St George defence. Being played bleeding from the above the left eye.
Well, if Terry's injured, and they can't win, sure, get him off. Scott Wilson too. I don't think he's been fit today. I know he suffered a bad gash during the week. He's had 20 stitches inserted in his calf. I don't think he's been running to his full potential.
Connolly trying to stand Mark Coyne up. He ran around him but ran into Ricky Walford. Canterbury trailing 23 points to nil. Many thought they would win this game. Sedaris away for Craig Polomouta. Canterbury number 7 looking for the opportunities. Saints though have been very solid in defence. Polomouta. Dimmock shows it to Lamb. Runs back to go forward. McCracken can't handle. Michael Potter comes up with it for St George. Heron has made a mistake of it. And this is the sort of complacency that we were talking about earlier. Not that he necessarily was, but you can go to sleep on a lead of 23 points to nil. 11 handling errors to 5. Canterbury on the worst side of that. Terry Lamb cuts out McCracken. Scott Wilson comes into the back line. It hasn't been a game for the McCrackens and the Connollys, really. You only have to look at the stats at half-time, possession-wise, to realise that it wasn't their type of game. Connolly's gone in looking for it. Gavin Hill. Canterbury got 6 more tackles. It's been nullified. They're only 5 out from the line as Darren Smith is put away. Wayne Collins shuts him down. Sedaris now for Polomouta. Lamb. Jason Smith coming around, working close to him. 9 metres from the line. Still they work in vain, looking for the gap, looking for the points. They've been clean sheeted so far. 23-0. Dimmock.
They're almost bamboozled in attack here, Canterbury. You see 4 St George defenders there. Martin Bella just ran 15 metres to get involved, and the ball went the other way as McCracken just gives it straight back to St George. Shocking. Got a little bit carried away once he kicked it too. I think McCracken, he's gone down.
Well, they've tried everything, Canterbury, haven't they? They've gone from side to side. They've searched high and low for a hole, but there's just not one there.
Jason Stevens.
Do you think one of the big pluses in this St George outfit is the scrambling defence when they have been busted? I don't know how many try-savers I've seen from the likes of Goldthorpe, Potter. Their big forwards coming across Priddle. They all work particularly well. I realise that sometimes the biggest plays are made in this game maybe 10, 15, 20 metres away from where the football actually is. They're very conscious of where they need to be at a particular time. Good chase here from Goldthorpe. Polomouta cleans up and beats Heron, can't beat his opposing half.
Doolan. Wilson in at 5/8. Lamb out in the centres, really. Connolly straightens it to the 40-metre line.
And that was Jason Stevens down there coming up on a great tackle against the centre. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. They really spread the work.
Tierney has gone on for St George in jumper 21. Scott Wilson tries to make his own luck. Jason Smith. right down to the 20-metre line, but tackles are running out for Canterbury. Polamander for Lamb, wide. Lamb's pass around the back for McCracken. He tries to get rid of Blake, turns it inside. Doolan puts it down. Saints come up with it. 15 away from their own line.
Well, I haven't seen a side fumble, bumble, stumble and mumble their way through a game like Canterbury have for a long time. Their ball control's been just terrible. The last pass going astray here with McCracken, but they're playing desperation footy now, being 23-0 down with 16 minutes to go.
Tierney.
Poet and Fatty, isn't there? A bit of poet and Fatty.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I think there's a future after the barbecue. Don't worry about that. Now Coyne. He's been outstanding, Mark Coyne. Blake. A newfound profession in rugby league, you might say, for Phil Blake. Inside for Walford, down for Michael Potter. Wayne Collins overran the tarmac. 20 out. This is the last. What will they do? Smith away for Tierney. Tierney, does he know it's the last? Got it in one hand. Flicks it away for Blake. Then Collins. Floating pass over the sideline.
Yes, and Martin Weeks gets his head on there again. He's come in to talk to McCallum. That man there, Phil Blake.
23-0 in favour of St George, 64 gone. Touch judge on. Michael Potter clutching at the Adams apple. Canterbury will be clutching at theirs, as a matter of fact, because the situation is asphyxiating almost. 23-0, that scoreboard says. Now there's Potter. I'm glad to find him.
Well, it might come a little bit later.
Maybe so. Saints get the penalty.
Decided to kick for goal here. Almost playing with contempt out there, St George at the moment. Running it on the last tackle there. Tierney almost got baseball mitts out there. Just one hand, threw it out the back, kept it alive. Last pass went over the sideline. Michael Potter looks a little bit happier with proceedings now.
Just talking about Phil Blake, like he's become an excellent dummy half runner. Now, the opposition defence knows that when Phil goes to dummy half, he is going to run, but they've still got to catch him. You know, they've still got to get him, and he's very, very quick, still elusive now as he was, 10 years ago. So he's become a big trump card for the St George side in these semis, in the run-up to the semis.
I was making the point, I think my expression was a newfound profession for him. He probably is now going to be referred to as an impact player. There's another bloke out there at the moment called Tierney. He's an impact player, as they call them, and Blake, that's the name he's going to carry. There they both are, in fact. And I guess as the grades diminish, and they say they'll be down to 2 grades in 1995, and then I won't be surprised if it's 1 as we draw on. They'll become very much a part of the game. 3 from 4 for Ian Herring. Likes what he's doing, so do the fans behind him. Straight over the dot. 25 points to 0. 66 minutes gone. Hardy. And welcome back. Saints 25, Canterbury 0. Tierney tries to promote Jeff Hardy up the centre. 12 minutes of the game remaining. George 12 minutes away from a fortnight's rest. Canterbury back to the drawing board, ready to mount Their final assault on Brisbane next Sunday. Tierney got a pass out the back. Potter was there to receive it.
Well, I know that Canterbury need to finish this 11 minutes better than we've seen the previous 30 played in this second half, but I've got no doubt I'd be taking Terry Lamb off. I'd be giving him a rest. He's had a sensational effort work-wise out there, 23 tackles, been involved in everything as that kick finds touch, and I just think he's a trump that needs to be put away until next week. Let the side play without him out there for a little while. That might help their cause as well, just to take on a little bit of extra responsibility.
Lamb with the ball now, but I was just thinking of the daunting proposition in front of Canterbury following their last performance against Brisbane. I'm trying to recall the score. It was a big one in favour of the Broncos. Bella. Sedaris finding Gavin Hill. Gavin has been on for a healthy proportion of this game. Not so Martin Bella. Polamatta gets it back for Canterbury. 6 more tackles, says the referee. That surprises me that he's nullified the tackle count. There's no way St George played at the ball. Sedaris runs into a gap. Here's a try. Canterbury eventually crack St George. They've proved at last that they're not impregnable.
And it was just a simple missed tackle that led to this try. 6 again was signalled. Sedaris, who's worked fairly hard out there, just bumped off one straight between. Well, that's a reaching arm of Jason Stephen. Nice pass back inside to Darren Smith. He's worked hard, but he really has been contained quite well. Just a good bump off here. I don't know who the tackle is.
Yeah, Goldthorpe. But a nice work by Sedaris. He's tried pretty hard today too for the Canterbury side, but one of their few good players. And Darren Smith has done a lot of work, always backing up at the inside.
Darren, his headgear off as he walks back. Origin player for Queensland, and that's his 8th try for the season. 25-4. Michael Potter comes off the field. And what a great finale. The attempted conversion is successful from Gavin Hill. 25-6, 9 minutes of the match remaining now. I was about to make the point, what a fitting finale it would be for Michael Potter when he runs onto this ground, if he can run off as a victorious captain at his last appearance in the Winfield Cup in a fortnight's time. Unfortunately, though, the Winfield Cup doesn't necessarily provide for dreams. There'll be just as many people with as many reasons for a Canterbury or a Brisbane victory on the same park. Mackay gets it going. Will this be for the last session of play? I spoke of a daunting task in front of Chris Anderson and his club as they prepare for next weekend, the final. The last time they met Canterbury, Brisbane defeated them 38 points to 18.
Well, we've got something happening in back play here.
Well, I think Terry Lamb has actually pulled Mark Coyne out of the play as Jim Sedaris is going for a scamper.
McCracken's been called out as well. Callum says to Terry Lamb, I don't want any part of that. Well, Terry, thank you. I know exactly what I'm doing. Just
a shoulder charge there from Jared McCracken. He's played in a frustrated manner today, hasn't he?
Well, things haven't gone right for him or come his way. And when he's gone looking for them, he's made a couple of mistakes.
Two of the game's biggest centres, Jared McCracken and Graham Bradley, lining each other today. Bradley's like a man mountain, and McCracken is not far short of it.
I think Chris Anderson will be most disappointed naturally with their effort, as it looks like the lead might get stretched to 27 points to 6, but really basic mistakes have cost them the match. They've handed St George many opportunities very, very easily with no effort. You know, things such as not even putting the the ball in the touch from penalty kicks, too many drop balls. And I think there's something good that's come out of the game for them. I thought Polamauta's tried very hard in the second half. A lot more incisive running from him.
Well, they've done almost 40 more tackles in their opposition, Canterbury, so that's 7 sets of tackles. It's just too much of a difference.
Ian Herron from right in front. He's had some critics over the last 12 months or so, but my goodness, it's hard to fault his performance, not only with the boot, with his general play as well over the last few weeks. 73 minutes gone. The mighty Saints, according to the kids, 27-6 they're in front. Little St George Bear does the dance. Phil Blake. Ooh, that's punishing stuff. Is Blake all right? I think not. Well, have a look at it on replay and ask yourself how you'd go with 3 of these blokes driving you relentlessly back and towards the turf. Crash. The weight of McCracken and Bella over the top of Sedaris has left Phil Blake on the turf, winded. That's all that is. He's on his feet now. He's okay. Cheney got a little slap over the whiskers. Crowd of in excess of 41,000 will have the rugby league ecstatic at the success of 1993 rugby league. Crowds were up 16% at the end of the competition. A lot of that largely due to the popularity of the game in Brisbane. As Mackay puts it down, Polamautta goes away. But everything they look at on the ledgers of 1993 will show pluses. A semi-final major, attracting a grand final crowd. Terry Lamb away. Polamautta into the arms of Darren Smith. Bella sweeps it inside. Polamautta runs into the waiting arms of Jason Stevens. Jason Smith. Good piece of work. Dimmick will score. Dimmick gets it over. Canterbury get another try. 27-10. Dying minutes, St George in front. Canterbury looking for some respectability.
And they've started to put a few things together here, the Bulldogs. Much too late, but St George probably more a case of them slackening off. They know they're in the big one, the grand final. Nice inside ball there too by Jason Smith, who's done some good things since he's come on, and Tim Dimmick's tried hard. He goes over for the try.
Just the intensity gone out of the St George defence. You'll see Wayne Collins comes in. That allows the gap on the inside. Now the man coming across there was Jason Stevens. He missed the tackle. He didn't react quickly enough. And Dimmick left no doubt about getting the ball down. As Paul pointed out, all too little too late. Trailing by 17, and that's been a fair indication of the difference, certainly in this second half.
Gavin Hill kicking into the private boxes behind those uprights, and he's got it on line. A further 2 points to the Canterbury total. Pick the score is about the only thing that really is concerned about it now. 27-12. The Dragons over the Doggies. I make it 3 1/4 to go.
Interesting point made by Steve Roach earlier, Ray, when he talked about St George being a side that looked like they're thriving on football every week. I thought Canterbury would come in very fresh to this game, but St George, you know, maybe missing the minor premiership hasn't been such a bad thing for them. They've just gone from strength to strength every week, and they've done it without getting injuries, and that's probably been the biggest plus. The other sides can't boast that.
Well, Gene, being a Broncos man, you'd have to think that your side will start a pronounced favourite next weekend.
Yeah, well, considering, Ray, that they virtually got through unscathed yesterday, apart from a slight bump to Chris John. So, and maybe with the inclusion of Steve Renouf and Terry Madison, they'll be at full strength for next week. And you know that they've only grown in confidence over the past 2 weeks with convincing wins.
What about you, Blocker? Can you see the Bulldogs bouncing back from this and inflicting defeat on the Broncos?
No, I've really thought all along, Ray, that they would be the team that would struggle, although they had the week off. I just think the Broncos are on fire, along with St George. It'll be a great grand final, but I think the Broncos will still win it, mate.
Do you think St George are better this year than last year?
Yes, I do. I think they're a lot more complete side. They work better in defence. They scramble better. They know what they want, but I just think the Broncos are outstanding.
If they're a better side this year than last year, why are they, Gene? St George.
St George? Oh, I really just think they've learnt from their experience. They're playing a very good style of football that will suit them if they get in front of a Brisbane side. They proved a few Friday nights ago that they can close the game down and just play the slow game, which obviously doesn't suit the Brisbane side.
Well, they certainly did that, as you said, at the ANZ, with 58,500 on the night there, cheering for the Broncos. The Saints were able to do it. So there's no reason to think that they can't go into the grand final much more confident than they did 12 months ago, if in fact the Broncos are to be there. When you've got Chris Anderson in charge and you've got Terry Lamb as your captain, players of the calibre of McCracken and Polamalu-Bella, you'd have to be a very game man to think that Canterbury are going to exit easily next weekend. Here's a chance. The kick is in behind the defence. Walford. Canterbury come up with it.
Fairly hefty push in the back there. Won't make any difference. This will be the last set of 6 for St George. Williams, you'll see, just pushes Ricky Walford straight out of the way here. There it is there. Referee saw it. They'll just wind the clock down now. They've been very impressive, the Dragons.
27-12, the crowd are about to take over. Tries for St George by Tony Prettle, Scott Goulet, Gordon Tallis, Ricky Walford. Heron got 5 from 6. And Noel Goldthorpe got the drop goal. 27 big points for St George. Jim Dimmick got it across the line for Canterbury. So did Darren Smith. And Gavin Hill put the 2 goals together. They've gone down 27 points to 12. St George, they go to their 2nd consecutive grand final. Will they be playing a replay of last year's following Brisbane's confrontation with Canterbury here next Sunday in the final?